Hey guys, so I'm back with another walkthrough, and this time I'll be demonstrating how I start my animations and how I finalize them. So basically, I'll be, in this walkthrough, I'll be recording myself doing an entire scene for you guys. So when I create my file, my dimensions are 3200 pixels by 1800, and everything else I don't really touch except for the background contents, which I put transparent. And in this scene, I'll be animating Sasuke standing in the wind or in a breeze or something. And it's part of our Naruto animation, and this is probably going to be the last scene I'm going to animate before we release part 1 of the animation. And then we're going to move on to part 2 and finish that up. So when I start my animations, I create a new layer. And I'll rename this layer as sketch layer because I always do sketches before animating just so I know how the scene will look. And I'm gonna zoom in, and the size of my pencil tool that I use is 3, and I'll just start sketching. So here I have the most messiest sketch ever, and believe it or not, all my sketches are this messy. But who said I was an artist? After making the sketch, I create a new layer. And since the scene has some static parts, like the rest of his body won't be moving, but the hair and clothing will, I'll start by drawing the static parts and name this layer static. And I set the sketch layer opacity down so it's transparent and I can draw over it. So it's sort of like the onion skin in Flash, only Photoshop. So with the three size pencil tool again, I'll start by outlining Sasuke's face. So here I basically drew a doll of him, and as you can see, he's bald because his hair will be on top in another layer, as well as his clothing. So basically, yeah, I'll be doing the moving layers now. And I'll also be adjusting the opacity of the static layer so you can see through it. And even though I drew the hair down, I'll be drawing it like in mid-motion. So I just finished the first frame of the movement sequence. And after this, I don't need to sketch, so I'm just gonna hide that. And I'll adjust the opacity of the first layer I did and just continue. So basically I just finished drawing the frames of the sequence from frame 1 to frame 5, and what I want to do right now is create a 6th frame that transitions from frame 5 to frame 1 since I want the animation to loop. A lot of people might have trouble with this because they can't make it smooth enough. So what I do is I adjust the opacity of the previous frame to be around 20 or so, and in the frame that I'm trying to transition to, which is frame 1, I adjust the opacity to around 40 or 30 or so. And that way you can see both frames are transparent. And what you're trying to do is draw the next frame, which basically transitions to the other one, and make a loop. After I draw all the frames, I make sure that it seems fluid, and by doing so I use the animation window below. And if it's not there, you can always open it going to window, animation, it should pop up. Usually the CS versions have it. Any version below CS2, I believe, you'll probably need Adobe Image Ready or something that comes with Photoshop. So I'm gonna play it and see what it looks like. And it looks pretty fluid to me. Probably some areas around here look kind of weird. That's better. It's time to start shading. And I created my own color key for shading, so let me open that. Usually I just start with the skin or the hair. Doesn't really matter. For this, I'll just start with the hair. And don't mind the weird looking hand, it's gonna be covered by Chidori or something. And since the clothing is covering the rest of his body, I'm probably not gonna shade it. Or maybe for fun. Just so you can see how I shade abs. Now working onto his clothing and his hair. Also, if one of your layers aren't completely closed in by an outline or something and you need to shade it in, what I do is on the paint bucket tool, I select all layers up here. So it basically merges all the layers together as one layer. And that way you can shade in all the unbordered layers that you usually can't fill in unless if you outline it yourself. So now I'm more or less done with the scene. All I have to do is add a background and add the Chidori effects and maybe add a few specs here and there. Created my own brush preset for the dirt specs. So I'm just gonna brush it here and there. So now I'll just be finalizing this. I'll add a gradient. And you can find the gradient tool right next to right under the paint bucket tool list. And I'll set the layer to multiply. And adjust the opacity a bit. For me, I used a gradient because it gives a bit of variance in the tones, so it doesn't seem so flat. So now I'll be drawing the Chidori blade and selecting the basic shape of the Chidori and filling it in with the paintbrush. And I'll create several layers of it so it doesn't seem so stiff. Now I'm gonna add an outer glow to all the layers. So I go right click it, go to blending options, select outer glow, and select bluish hue. And I'll set the layer blending mode to linear dodge. Increase the size of it a bit and opacity. And I copy the layer style by right clicking it and copy layer style and pasting it to all of them. Now for finishing touch, I'll use the paintbrush tool, select one of the softer ones, and dab it on the hand to give it a glow. Now I'll be organizing the frames into the layers into frames, and after I'm done with the animation, I'll show you how I adjust the quality of the animation to make it look like the anime. So now I put all the layers together and I'm gonna flatten the animation. And basically this is what the animation looks like so far. Blurring the final image so it looks less sharp and crisp in the end. So go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and I usually blur it by 1.7 or 1.5 pixels, and I do that for the rest of the frames. So this is basically what I do when I animate, and to save it I go to File, Export, Render Video. And in order to do so, you need to have QuickTime installed on your computer, otherwise it will be blanked out. And I want to save it as an AVI file. And I'll adjust the settings. I don't want any compression, so it looks really high quality, and I choose millions of colors for depth. I'll adjust the size of the video to HDV HDTV, so it's 1280 by 720, and the frame rate to 24 frames per second. Now I just render the video, and there you go. Of course, you probably need to have the animation here in order to render the video, otherwise it won't work, but I forgot to do that, so anyway. Thanks for watching, hopefully it helped. I'll include a link on the bottom for those who want the actual PSD file of this. So yeah, hopefully we'll have the animation done soon, and thanks for watching.